Court of the 6th Judicial Circuit of Florida and the County Court of Pasco County are now in session with all the honorable judges of the court in attendance. The Honorable Judge Lynn Tepper presiding. All persons having business before this honorable court draw nigh and ye shall be heard. God save the United States, the state of Florida, and this honorable court. Will everyone standing please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. You may all please be seated. Now I would introduce your MC, Ms. Veronica Sintar.
Thank you so much, Deputy Kwiatkowski. How did I get? I got it good. We talked about his name before I got up here. He's been quite the sport for calling the court to order. Thank you. And thank you, my goodness, for joining us this morning. As he said, I'm Veronica Cintron, the evening anchor at Spectrum Bay News 9, and I am so excited to be joining you today. Let me tell you, of all the things we cover, and you know, if you watch the news, it can be tragic, sad stories.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have some judges that we need to bring in, I think, before now. Sorry.
Oh! Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, if the bailiff would please escort Judges Stearns, Judge Fermani, Judge Mattei. Hold on, sorry about that. And you all flirting with the children. You may continue.
All right, there we go. So now that we have you guys here, welcome. Formal introduction. As I was saying, so you know the news cycle can be tragic. It can be so sad at times, and the stories that we cover can be quite painful. This is such a highlight. It is inspiring. It is uplifting to see love at work, hope, unconditional commitment. It is wonderful. So to say I'm beyond honored to be here is an understatement. As you know, November is National Adoption Awareness Month, and it helps raise awareness of the fact that nationally, more than 117,000 children are in the foster care system looking for their forever families. Today we have the great honor to have some of those families who have opened their hearts and their homes to these children, beautiful children, so we thank you and we celebrate you. With that, I'd like to share with you a quote from one of my favorite authors. Paulo Coelho, in The Alchemist, wrote the following: "I love you because the entire universe conspired to help me find you." For the parents here, I know that this hits home. That is such a beautiful line and a very fitting line to start and set the tone of our event this morning. We know it is a big moment for all the children joining us here, finally finding your forever families. And we know it's been a long journey, but today we are here to celebrate all of you. We are here to celebrate the fact that you deserve all of the love and the joy and the happiness in the world. Now, there are many families here, we're applauding you, that are here to give that to you. To the parents, your hearts are bigger than words can describe. You are angels among us. Let's give them a round of applause. One of my regrets this morning here is that I forgot to bring my tissues, but I see my friend Jessica's got a box there. So I know if you need some, we are ready for it. It's going to be an emotional morning, but we're so excited. We have a great program in store for all of you. Right now, I'd like to introduce Judge Lynn Tepper to expand on the role the 6th Judicial Circuit has in adoptions. Judge Tepper.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the annual Adoption Day event. And thank you, West Pasco, for allowing us to invade your courthouse yet again, and we greatly appreciate it. But I want to thank the staff of West Pasco, the Sheriff's Office deputies that are behind the scenes and in front of you making this happen, and a special thanks to Nancy Allen, who is our West Pasco Unified Family Court case manager. For months, she's been sending out emails, coordinating meetings. It's unbelievable what goes into doing this, and we greatly appreciate it. And getting to this point also required the great effort of our case managers that work with YFA and Eckert, our guardian ad litem volunteers, the attorneys for child welfare, the attorneys that represent the parents, and the attorneys ad litem. So thank you to all of them for the work that got us here to this point. Now, I do want to introduce our dignitaries, and as I say your name, you're welcome to raise your hand, you're welcome to stand, but I'm going to order you not to applaud until we hit the end, because you don't want me to exercise my powers of contempt, do you? All right, okay. So, we have Gay Inskeep, our trial court administrator, is here. Lillian Simon, our director of administrative services. We have on behalf of Dr. Paula O'Neill, Nikki Alvarez-Suarez. Well, I apologize, Nikki, for mispronouncing your name. Kim Williams, the Regional Family and Community Services Director of the DCF. Celeste Fernandez, Community Development Administrator. Congressman Gus Bilirakis. We have regrets from Representative Burgess, and man, does he have a good story. He said he's sorry he can't be here. His wife just had a baby. So he sends his regrets. And we have on behalf of Representative Chris Sprouse, Anna Stearns, and she is the legislative assistant to Representative Sprouse and the spouse of Judge Stearns. We also have Brian Bostic with Eckert Community Alternatives. He's the executive director for Pinellas and Pasco. Sonia Graham, Eckert Connects Community Alternatives Senior Director of Growth and Transformation. We have John Luff, who is the operating officer of Youth and Family Alternatives. We have Keith Mukherjee here, the vice president of Central Programs of Youth and Family Alternatives. Gretchen Marzicola. Where's Gretchen? She's here somewhere, who is the Director of Youth and Family Alternatives, and Evelyn Still, the Program Director for the Guardian Ad Litem of Pasco County. So welcome to all of you. Thank you. You all behave so well. Adoption Day is really, to me, about celebrating and cementing buffering relationships. A buffering relationship is considered really the front line of healing for individuals. It helps build resiliency in individuals, which means we're building well-being, the ability to overcome adversity as it comes along. It's the ability to, even for a toddler, an adolescent, a teenager, an adult, to overcome and become the extraordinary, to live the extraordinary potential with which they were born, now that they have this buffering forever relationship with their adoptive parents. This is not lost for these children, no matter their age, because we have parents who will now adopt them and be their forever buffering relationship. And although biological parents of the children who are adopted here today may not have had the good fortune to be raised in the supportive home environment that our adoptive parents offer here today, these children today have found in these adoptive parents a stable, responsive, caring relationship that assures that that extraordinary possibility is going to be a reality for them for the rest of their life. So it is my pleasure to begin the ceremony with the introduction of, I believe we have Judge Stearns are you going to start with the first remarks?
Come on, Judge. This is Judge Kim Campbell. I know she had an emergency she had to take care of, but come in and join us. And all right. And thank you, Judge Tepper, for joining us here today. Normally, our Chief Judge, Judge Rondolino, presides over National Adoption Day, and unfortunately, he had a conflict. So I know that Judge Tepper...
Family and Children's in the Courts Committee. It makes perfect
That's
sense.
right. So thank you, and good morning, all, and welcome to the 10th Annual National Adoption Day here in Pasco County. I have the pleasure of serving on the Unified Family Court here in West Pasco, and this is a very, very special day, without a doubt, one of my favorite days of the year. It's great to see all of you here and all the smiling faces, and a lot of you have been in my courtroom over the last year or two or whatever it's gone through, and the journey has taken you to here today. We have, I believe, the last count is 16 children and 11 families that are going to be adopted into their forever families, as well as one special adoption that I was able to handle this morning on a private adoption, and I don't think that there was a dry eye in my chambers when we finished that. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I want to congratulate all of you and thank you for opening up your hearts and opening up your homes to these fabulous children. I am happy that I was able to share this with you. I want to take this opportunity to thank our committee here today that made this event possible. A lot of them are up here, and it's a long list of people. I'm afraid I would miss someone if I went through that list, but they did a wonderful job in coordinating this today. I know that Judge Tepper already acknowledged Nancy Allen. I want to, wherever she, oh, there she is, she's moved. Again, thank her for her tireless efforts in getting this done, as well as my judicial assistant, Jessica Smith, who was very active in getting this done here today, as well as putting up with me for the last 20 years, and I appreciate that. She deserves a medal. So thank you again, and I want you all to enjoy the festivities today.
Thank you, Judge Tepper. Welcome, everybody. What a joyous occasion today is. It's name any other official judicial proceeding where everybody is smiling as they leave the courtroom, where you get to hang out with Raymond, Lightning Bug, Pepper the Pig, Star Wars characters, McGruff the crime dog, a mermaid, balloon makers, face painters, and yes, there's going to be pizza later. That's why I'm going to keep my speech short, because there are better things to do, perform more adoptions after this hearing concludes. Again, I want to echo and thank the organizing committee. You know who you are. The donors, the volunteers, the programs will honor those that have given so much for today. I'm trying to gather my thoughts. Why is today so special? Some of you may know that 3 of the judges here today used to be public defenders. Myself, Judge Tepper, Judge Stearns. We got to represent, as public defenders, people who are at the low ebb of their life, people who are suffering. As dependency judges, we got to witness the suffering, the trauma that the children went through to become part of the dependency system. But we also got to witness the healing that occurs, the miracles that happen every day in a dependency division. We got to witness the village. We've all heard of it takes the village. It is alive and well in the dependency system in the 6th Judicial Circuit. There are too many names. You know who you are. But everybody that you come in contact to as a prospective adoptive parent, it may be a case manager, it may be a garden ad litem volunteer, it may be a representative of the Heart Gallery, it may be regional counsel, it may be assistant state attorney. There is a host of people. You walk into a dependency division, and I do every Wednesday, and you have a host of people all there acknowledging that the most important thing in that courtroom is not the guy in the black robe, it's the child. Those children are precious. They are our future. And so I want to acknowledge those people that play a part in the healing process, because I understand for an adoptive parent, that journey can be long, it can be frustrating. I presided over an adoption this morning. 5 years it took to get that child into the forever family. But when you witness that journey occur and the miracle occur, that's what makes today so sweet, so joyous, that journey is over. Now, I'm only a part-time circuit judge. 5 years ago, Judge Webb and Judge Burgess came to me and said, we need some help. Could you help? Because I used to be a county judge. I still am a county judge. That is Mackenzie. How many months ago did we adopt Mackenzie? May. In May. She's one of my graduates. Because as a county judge, I get to do small claims and landlord-tenant. So yes, I'm the Judge Judy of West Pasco County. I get to have a lot of fun, but this one takes the cake. Thank you. It's a privilege. I want to honor our special guests, the parents and the children in the forever families. God bless you, and thank you for letting me be part of your journey. Thank you.
All right, and right now I'd like to invite Judge Stearns and Judge Fermani. Again, they have a little something special to say now.
All right, thank you again. Judge Tepper, could you come down here and join us in the peanut gallery, if you would?
All right, I'm sure I can get out of here.
There we go. You want to give this to her? Thank you. All right. One of the first times you've walked into a courtroom and then that everyone has rows there. But ladies and gentlemen, it is now my distinct pleasure to, on behalf of all of the judges of the 6th Judicial Circuit, to make a special presentation to a very special person. This special individual has been on the bench for over 3 decades. I believe is the longest tenured judge in the state of Florida. Is that correct? I think it is, and not the oldest, because I
was a schoolgirl.
That's right. She was 12 when she took the bench, but it's really my pleasure to make this presentation here today. Judge Tepper's pioneer work in Project One Judge, No Wrong Door, Equal and Coordinated Access to Justice is a model program for the entire country, as well as their work and her development of early childhood court. I know that there are judges from throughout the country that come and observe her trauma-informed practices, and she does a wonderful job with the families here in Pasco County. She has been my mentor since I have been on the Unified Family Court bench, and I know Judge Fermani, and I know she will continue in that role once she retires at the end of the year. And I know it's going to be a very active retirement as a senior judge as well as a guest lecturer on many different subjects. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to at least, read the award. It says National Adoption Day 2018, Judge Lynn Tepper, a national pioneer championing families in distress. So, Lynn, congratulations. All right. All right. Thank you.
I needed that because now I needed time to pull back my tears so I can speak. I just want to say when sometimes the work we have is very difficult and very difficult stories, and I learned that we shouldn't wear out our families with the bad stuff that we see. But I love to report to my husband all of the good stuff that's happening these days. And I'll tell him extraordinary accomplishments of youth, of families that have succeeded in reunifying or an adoption that's finally ready to take place. He goes, "It sounds like you had a really great day." I've had a really great run. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, and thank you so much, Judges Tepper, Fermani, and Stearns. Beautiful words. You know, they have a very difficult job. These folks hear and see things that many of us sometimes can't imagine, so thanks for all you do. Right now, friends, as we continue our program, I would like to introduce the Regional Managing Director of the Department of Children and Families for the Suncoast region. It covers 4 judicial circuits, including the 6th Judicial Circuit, and 11 counties, including Pasco. Please give a warm welcome to Lisa Mayrose.
Good morning. I am so honored to be part of this day today. I'm one of those people who believes that people come into our lives and we cross paths with people for a very specific reason. Sometimes it's through a leap of faith that children and their forever families find one another. And from there, a special and unconditional love and bond is formed that can never be broken. Today, we are celebrating the culmination of very hard work and a very dedicated and committed people to come together to change the trajectory of a child's life. We all know, as we've heard here this morning, that the road to adoption is not always easy. As adoptive parent Scott Simon once said, there are times when the adoption process is exhausting and painful. It makes you want to scream, but I am told so does childbirth. We also know that parenthood comes with its own unique challenges. However, through that unconditional love, patience, and understanding, we get through those times because we are family. Never forget the happiness and the joy that you feel here today, because that will truly get you through those rough times. So on behalf of the Department of Children and Families, I want to thank our judiciary, our guardian ad litems, Children's Legal Services, Youth and Family Alternatives, Eckerd Connects, and all of the committed child welfare professionals that made today possible. But most importantly, I would like to thank these loving and caring parents that open their homes and their hearts to enhance their families with these most beautiful and deserving children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Our next speaker this morning is Brian Bostic. Brian is the Executive Director of Eckerd Connects Community Alternatives, Pasco and Pinellas counties. It is a lead agency providing child welfare and foster care services to approximately 2,600 children and teens every single day. Eckerd Connects strives to support and strengthen families through child abuse prevention, child placement, and adoption support. Brian will provide us this morning with a more in-depth view of what the agency does and their mission, what it is, what they've accomplished so far. So please give a warm welcome to Brian Bostic.
Good morning, everyone. Today is one of the best days. There are a lot of tough days in the work that we do every day, but this is one of the best days that we have for children to be matched with their forever families for the rest of their lives. So this is a day that we look forward to. And I also want to take the opportunity to thank the case managers, the supervisors, the guardian ad litems, the attorneys, all the court personnel for pulling this event together, and also finding forever families for these children. Case managers have one of the toughest jobs ever, and so I definitely want to recognize them for the work that they do. Today, I want to say congratulations to the 16 children that are being adopted here today. We're also grateful for the 11 forever families that will be adopting these children and opening their hearts and their homes to these children. Numerous children age out of foster care system every year without being adopted, but you have ensured that these children today will not age out of foster care without their forever families. Thank you to all our community partners and sponsors. We truly could not do this without you. In the year 2017, Youth and Family Alternatives adopted 152 children from Pasco County. 152 children had forever families, and they're going to top that this year, I'm sure. Currently, there are about 245 children in Pasco County available for adoption, and we still need forever families for many of those children, so we ask that you don't stop here today. And as you can imagine, for that number, we need more foster and adoptive families. So we ask that you continue to work with us as we try to find forever families and foster homes for our children. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time today because there's a lot that needs to be done, like forever families being finalized and children being matched with their forever families today. And I just want to say thank you, and thank you. And this is one of the best days that we could ever have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So today, we would like to present a proclamation from our Governor, Rick Scott, and we would like to invite up here John Luff from Youth and Family Alternatives. I'm not going to read the entire proclamation because, as Brian said, we do have a lot to accomplish here today. Florida Adoption Month. Whereas adoption provides a unique opportunity to improve children's lives and enrich the lives of adoptive parents, their families, and their communities. And whereas every child needs a deserving, loving, supportive, nurturing, and permanent family. And whereas approximately 800 children are currently available for adoption without an identified adoptive family, including teenagers, sibling groups, and children with medical needs. Whereas 4,197 children in Florida found forever families during fiscal year 2017-2018. Whereas on November 16, 2018 is National Adoption Day, and families and children across the nation and the great state of Florida will celebrate the joy of adoption on this day and throughout the month while remembering our children who are still dreaming of and hoping for a loving, permanent family of their own. Today, we provide this proclamation from Governor Rick Scott to John Luff at Youth and Family Alternatives.
Just want to say this is always the brightest day in child welfare. Thank you for the families allowing us to be part of it. Thank you.
You know, you hear this often, it's cliche, but it's true. It takes a village. You're looking at the village. There's so many partners that are part of this process, helping the families, helping the children. And right now, though, we're going to turn our attention to the emotional part of our event. It's hearing firsthand from parents who have been through that process, and they're on the other side with beautiful families. And they haven't done it just once, they've adopted more than once. So right now with that, I'd like to first introduce our first guest speaker to share her adoption story. Her name is Tanya Oliver Valdez, and she's an attorney. Ms. Oliver Valdez has been involved in dependency court as a foster parent and guardian ad litem for 22 years. When Mackenzie, who will turn 3 tomorrow, came into her life and her husband Ricardo's life last year, it was only temporary, until her biological parents were able to be reunified with her. Ultimately, that did not happen, and Mackenzie was available for adoption. I love it. Break out in song, baby girl. I have a 3-year-old, so this is my house. You can hang with me. Come over if you want, baby girl. Tanya and Ricardo did not want Mackenzie to spend more of her life in a home that just wasn't permanent. So they opened their hearts and their home and brought her into the family, and now she is the youngest of 8 children, whom Tanya and Ricardo consider their own. Please, that deserves a big old round of applause. And keep it going, because we're going to hear from Tanya Valdez. Come on over, Tanya.
Before I get started, I am going to ask Mackenzie's biological aunt, Jackie Keller, to come up. She slid in late, and join Mackenzie and her husband, Nick. So today I stand before you, and it's a privilege to be here with my respected colleagues, attorneys, judges, dignitaries, as well as many others that are going through different phases of the similar journey that I have gone on. I want to send out also a special thanks to Teresa Kondak, who's also here. She's the wife of fallen officer Charlie Kondak and a good family friend as well. As was indicated, I've participated in the dependency system for the past 20 years. My husband, Ricardo Valdez, is also a dedicated public servant, and he's at work today and could not come here to tell his portion of the story, so I will share his portion as well. He joined me in my passion in serving children in Pasco County on May 26, 2017, when we welcomed Mackenzie into our home. And I want to tell you about that Friday. My husband was out of town. Him and my brother were having a fun weekend away from the wives. With 2 hours' notice, I got a call from a wonderful case manager at Eckerd and said, "We have a 15-month-old for a long-term placement. Are you ready for her?" At that time, I didn't even have a car seat or a crib, but we welcomed Mackenzie into our house, and we were all in and ready for the long haul to help her, her parents, and her family in reunification. Adoption wasn't a part of the plan for us at that time. We were here to help Mackenzie in any way that we could. When I picked her up, she walked in our family, and it was like she was meant to be there from day one. She is very vocal, as you've heard here today. And she did join the family, the youngest of a very large, blended, and close family. We have 7 other children who have different paths as how they've come into our lives, but they're all our children. I asked my husband last night what he wanted to share, and he wanted to share his first memory. He had rushed home early, got home on Saturday afternoon, and he walked in, and she saw him and began singing "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." If you know my husband, he's a novice pianist, and he loves to sing, and they have not stopped singing since she entered our house. My husband and I went through the process of being her placement family. We thought that our life was pretty content as our children, our older children, were all fairly independent. We have 5 granddaughters as well. And we did not know how Mackenzie was going to change her life. We went through the court system. Mackenzie had been adjudicated dependent, and we are so thankful that she was safely sheltered with her aunt and uncle, Nick and Jackie Keller. And despite her parents' efforts to attempt to complete a parenting plan, they were not able to do that, and their rights were ultimately terminated. At that point, the case manager asked us if we were interested in adoption, and without hesitation, we said yes. We knew there was a bigger plan, and we wanted to be a permanent place in Mackenzie's life. On May 11th of this year, Judge Fermani presided over her adoption hearing, and we made formal what we knew all along, that Mackenzie was our daughter. The court system, the case managers, Eckerd, were all critical in this process. I also asked her case manager, Afton, to be here. Afton is here, back here in the corner. And her aunt and uncle I invited to be here too, because without them, they are the true heroes in this story, making Mackenzie have a safe place in order to join our family. I treasure each moment, each laugh, each cheer, and each milestone I have with Mackenzie. I share a lot of them on Facebook, too. Mackenzie sings with her dad, and they take their nightly walks. She plays with her two youngest brothers, Hunter and Clayton. She's compassionate and vocal, and she's a smart soul well beyond her years. Tomorrow is her third birthday, as they said. She'll be 3 on November 3rd, and I look forward to spending this birthday with her as well as all her other birthdays. It's the littlest footprints that leave the biggest impression, and Mackenzie has left an everlasting impression with everyone she touches, from the case managers to her family, who has remained in her life throughout our adoption and has become an extension of our family. I just thank you for the opportunity and the privilege to stand here and share this with you.
Tanya, it is our privilege to hear from you and hear your little girl. One more round of applause. What did I tell you? See, I can't even deal. All right, our next guest speaker, everybody, is Megan Truesdale. After Megan and her husband Shane realized they couldn't have children of their own, they decided to adopt, and they did, not just once, but over and over and over again. They adopted Katie when she was just 2 days old. When Katie was 4, they adopted Emma, who was just under the age of 2, and recognizing there was a dire need for older children to be adopted, the couple switched gears. They adopted a 15-year-old boy who loved his new family so much, he wanted to change his first name to that of his adoptive father's. Their fourth was, there's more. Their fourth is a 17-year-old girl. The Truesdales adopted her in May. Megan, please join me to share the story.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to all of you. I'm going to try to keep it together. But she's crying, so she already started it off really well. So at the end of 2008, I suffered my 8th miscarriage, feeling completely lost because all I'd ever wanted to be was a mom. And I just kind of felt like giving up. A friend of mine, knowing what I had been through, decided to ask me to accompany her at a spa party, which was also a sales pitch, but assured me nonetheless that it was going to be fun and completely worth getting out of the house for. During the spa party, the host asked before we get started that she wanted to play a little game to help us all get to know each other a little better. Thinking to myself, oh God, what did I get myself into? She said, so we're going to go around and I just want everybody to tell me, all of us, one thing that we wouldn't know by looking at you. Everybody went around, took their turns first. Obviously, I wanted to go last. As tears started to fall from my face, I kind of told her, and everybody, a room full of strangers and all of them women, what I had gone through and how I felt completely broken. And the one thing that I had ever wanted to be in my life just felt like it was never going to happen. A lady handed me tissues and comforted me. And then from a distance, I heard another lady said, have you ever thought about fostering to adopt? My response was a chuckle and a no. I can't do that. That's definitely not something that I could ever do because I wouldn't be able to let them go. It just seems too hard to take in a child and love them, not knowing whether or not they were going to stay with you. After the party was over, the lady that asked me if I had ever thought about being a foster parent handed me a card. She worked for the children's home network, and she told me to talk it over with my husband and think about opening up my heart and my home to children in need. I thanked her and politely placed the card in my wallet, never giving it a second thought. Almost a year later, in 2009, my husband and I were sitting on the couch watching TV together. A commercial came on that talked about all the children that needed homes, that were orphans in the system, that came from neglected and abused families that needed somebody to just love them. Paying close attention to this commercial, I knew that this was a sign. I looked at my husband and asked him, did he hear what the commercial just said? He shook his head and said no. Well, it was like a light clicked on for me, and I said, well, it was just talking about how many children are abused and neglected and abandoned in the system that need homes. And I think that we should check a little bit more into it. He looked at me with a puzzled look on his face, and he said, I don't think so. We're not rich. We don't own our own home. I don't know how we could do that. And we've already lost so much, I couldn't imagine taking in children into our home and then having to let them go after we've lost so many already. Agreeing slightly with him, I knew that now that he told me that that was something that we definitely couldn't do, that I was definitely going to do it. He knows I was hard-headed, so I went to my wallet, pulling out that card that I remembered placing it in my wallet almost a year prior to that, and I handed it to him, and he said, "Was this planned? Where did you get that card?" I started laughing and then later explained to him how it happened. One thing led to another. And in 2010, we ended up going to, or 2009, we ended up going to an open house. I called the lady that gave us the card, and she said, oddly enough, there's an open house this weekend. You guys should come check out the children's home and visit, the houses and how everything works. By the end of that tour, we ended up signing up for our fostering classes, and by 2010, we were licensed foster parents. March of 2010, we got a call from placement asking if we were willing to take a 2-day-old little girl. Without even a second thought, it was an immediate yes for me. But I remembered in our training, they told us that before you agreed to take in a child, that you should always talk over with your spouse, right? I had already said yes, so I went ahead and gave him a call and told him, hey, honey, they just called us for a 2-day-old little girl. How do you feel about us taking that in? His response was, baby, you remember what we talked about, right? We were only going to take a school-aged little boy between the ages of 5 and 8. Not a baby girl, not one that wakes up every 2 hours needing feedings and diaper changes and lots of attention. And I said, yeah, I know, but you see, he said, well, let me stop you. I know that you're going to do what you want to do. So let's just go ahead and do this. So I was like, I'm glad you said that. I'm on my way to go pick her up. So I get to the hospital, the Tampa General Hospital, and the nurse walks out and she tells me, well, she's back here. Let's go ahead and get you scrubbed in. And I walked in. And the doctor said, well, she's a really colicky baby. She hasn't stopped crying since she was born. And I said, okay, thinking in my head, oh my gosh, I hope he wasn't right about this. I walked over and I asked the doctor, would it be okay if I picked her up? And he said, sure, that's fine. She's your daughter. I was like, okay, that's confirmation number 2. So I leaned over and I picked her up, looking into her eyes, knowing that she couldn't see because she was so new. And she looked at me like she could see through my soul and took a deep breath in, and she stopped crying. All of the nurses and the doctor that was standing there were completely perplexed because she hadn't stopped since she was born. And one of the nurses said, I guess she just needed her mama. About a year later, we were going through the whole process, and they asked us if we wanted to adopt Katie. Obviously, that was a yes. From the day one, we knew that she was ours. We continued fostering, and my best friend, Heather, saw through our journey how amazing it was, and she decided that she also would like to foster and signed up. That's how we got Emma. She was fostering for Emma for about 6 months, just long enough, basically, to get Emma. And her husband was given another job opportunity in a different state, and she was having to leave. She was licensed through the same place as I was, so I called my FDS and asked if it would be okay if I took Emma, because I didn't want it to go to a complete stranger when I was with Heather all the time, and I already loved Emma, and I knew that she belonged with us. So she ended up coming with us, and about 2 years later, Throughout the process, I was telling Heather, if she ever comes up for adoption and you guys want to adopt her, I will make sure that we go through the process and you guys are able to adopt her. Well, when it came time to adopt her, I let Heather know, and she said, Megan, I think that the only reason why I even came into fostering was so that God could place her in my life long enough for her to get to you, because I think she's been yours the whole time. We ended up adopting Emma in November, and shortly after that, we continued to foster, and shortly after that, we got a call for our son, Junior, and he was described to us as a little boy who had a heart issue and was very angry due to the instability that he had in his life. And he just really needed love and guidance and structure. Not sure if we were up to that challenge, we agreed to meet with him and take him out to lunch. The entire time he talked to us, I could tell he was trying to scare us off, as he had done many of the other families they had tried to place him with. I saw this sweet, broken little boy, and there was so much more to him than the life that he had already been given. By the end of lunch, we took him back to the kids' place and dropped him off, and his response was, "Nice meeting you, have a great life," thinking that he did everything he could to scare us off and he was never going to see us again. I called him every day for the next week. He didn't ever feel like talking to me, and every time that they called him to the phone, he said, "Again? Really?" Well, at the end of the call, he would say, thanks for calling me, have a great life," as he did every single time. So by the following weekend, I asked him if he would like to go out with us on the weekend. He said, "I don't know, I might be busy doing something else." I said, "Oh man, that's a shame. I really wanted to take you to this new pizza place. It's pretty cool." I heard a long pause, and he said, "Pizza? Okay, that's great, because the food here really sucks." I quickly figured out that the only way that I was going to get to know this kid in any way at all was to mention food to him. Each time I called him, I asked him where he'd like to eat. By the 4th week, he said, "Do you know how to cook sloppy joes?" It was something that his grandmother made for him, and it was really special to him. It was something that he loved, the favorite thing that she ever made. I said yes. He said, "Well, maybe you could make that for me and I can come to your house for dinner." I was completely excited that he wanted to come and spend time at the house. It sounded like we were moving closer to where we wanted to be. I said, "That sounds great. How about you can stay the weekend with us as well? Maybe we can rent a movie." And he agreed. I was completely shocked. By the end of the weekend, I had to take him back to the kids' place, and I wanted him to stay. I didn't want to drop him off, but I didn't know how he felt because he never mentioned it. When we got back to the kids' place, this time something very different happened. He slowly got out of the car, somberly walked to the door, looking back to make sure I was still there. Now remember this boy 3 short weeks prior, he was telling me have a great life every single time I talked to him, every single time he got out of the car, wanted to make sure that I was still behind him. We walked in and his house parents said, "How was your weekend?" And he said it was great. I didn't want to come back here. "And your visit was good," he said? He said, "Yes, I think I found my family." My heart melted, and all I could think is he felt the same way we did. I got back into my car completely in tears, not crying in front of him because I needed to be strong, and I called the case manager and asked him if I could please just take him home with me today. Of course, there's a lot of other things that go into moving a child to make sure that it's the right place. He said, "I will talk to him, and maybe we can have him to you by the end of the week." Obviously, they talked to Junior, and he said right away, yes. And he was in his room literally throwing everything in a garbage bag to be moved that day. By Tuesday, he was in my home, and in October of 2015, we adopted him. We continued to foster, and through our foster daughter, we met her friend who happened to be a foster child as well in a different foster home. Unfortunately, this foster home wasn't a very good match for her. and she ended up having to be placed in another home. We got a call from the children's home asking if we would spend some time with her for the weekend. Of course, I said yes, because I already loved her. After about 3 weeks, she expressed that she would really like to move in with us. She was 16 at the time, and honestly, her background was a deep one. Not only had she suffered a lot of trauma, but she had been separated from her siblings, one of which was her identical twin. I knew that going into this was going to be anything but easy. Throughout the year, she reminded me that she was aging out. She never wanted to be adopted. She didn't believe that love or safety or anything really existed in anything but books or movies. Almost a year had went by, and she said that she thought she wanted to be adopted. And I asked her, I told her that was amazing, and I asked her if she had mentioned it to anyone else. Of course, the caseworkers and her therapist had already known her plan. None of them shared this with me. Tears of joy were rolling down my face at the fact that this child who thought that love didn't exist in anything but movies and books finally felt love and enough safety to feel that she wanted to be adopted by someone, but I didn't know that it was going to be us. She looked at me and put her hand on my lap and said, "I want you to adopt me. I want to be adopted by you and Dad. Will you adopt me?" Without hesitation, I said, "Yes, of course. You're already mine. But you've always said you never wanted to be adopted. Are you sure this is what you really want?" She said, "Yeah, well, I never wanted to be adopted because I never felt like I was part of a family before, like I had ever been part of a family, not even with my biological family, and something's different." We've been through a lot of ups and downs with my kids. I've fostered children from infant to 2 days old, all the way up to my 17-year-old, and I have an 18-year-old as well. I've done everything from traditional foster parenting to therapeutic foster parenting and even medical foster parenting. I never thought this was something that I could do. I never thought that I could handle it. Over 50 children my husband and I have fostered in 10 years. The reason why I'm standing up here in front of you today is because there are a lot of you that are here supporting the people that have adopted and fostered in this room. There's a lot of you that are also standing here that haven't. I just want to say something. I hear this a lot out, and everybody says all the time, churches especially say that if everybody would just foster or adopt one child, we would not have one child without a home that was in a loving home, supportive home, feeling like they belonged somewhere. And if I can do this, going through everything that I've been through, you guys can too. There's so many people in this room that have adopted today, and I'm sure that any of them would be willing to tell you how to get into this journey that we have all taken. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity for me being able to share my story with you and encourage all of you to step up and help these kids that really need you and spread the word to get foster and adoptive parents out there, because there's such a huge need and everybody can do it, because as you've heard, it does take a village. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. And you guys, the kids, can you guys please stand? You deserve a massive round of applause, too. The Truesdale family, everybody. Beautiful. You know, Megan talked a little bit about this, and I know you know this. You read about it, you see it on social media, you see it on the news. So many stories of trauma and abuse and children, and it's easy to lose hope when you see that, because it is heart-wrenching. And then we are reminded, this is just a small sample of all the good happening in this community. Thank you. Thank you to all of you involved. And right now, a couple of housekeeping notes. As we get ready to wrap up our program, I'm going to tell you what's happening next. So the judges, they're going to be moving into another courtroom and some hearing rooms where the adoptions we're celebrating today will finally be completed and will be official. When it's time, families, for your adoption, the bailiff will find you here in this courtroom and will escort you to the courtroom or hearing room where your adoption will be finalized. Now, while you wait and once your adoption has been completed, you are more than welcome. Your forever family. You guys can hang. You can join in the festivities. You know, we have DJ Kitty. Did I hear that? DJ Kitty is here. We've got all kinds of fun stuff out here. So please enjoy that. Many wonderful organizations. You've already heard of from some of them. Eckerd Connects, Community Alternatives, Youth and Family Alternatives, the Guardian Ad Litem Foundation, the Heart Gallery. They've worked with court staff to provide refreshments, some gifts, and entertainment here, so please take advantage of that. Also, the Heart Gallery, they've arranged for a professional photographer to take your first family portrait. Please be sure to visit with a photographer by courtroom 2B after your adoption has been finalized to make sure you get your family photo taken. And of course, you are free to take as many of your own photos as you'd like. Right now, I'd like to give a special thanks to the hardworking group of volunteers from the court staff, everybody, the other agencies joining us today who worked countless hours to put together this great event. The celebration without you all wouldn't have been possible. Let's hear it for all of them. And also special recognition to the caseworkers, the guardian ad litems, the attorneys, the court personnel. You work to make sure these adoptions are in the best interest of the kids and the families. So thank you for all you do. At the end of the day, and you know this better than I do, all of that hard work is to help these families be together, and celebrating you is what we're doing. So again, thank you for you sharing your stories here, to all of us, for the kids for joining us here. I wish you the best of luck. And with that, we're going to wrap up our event. I know you're very ready to get these adoptions formalized, so thank you and have a blessed day.
I suspect we're ready for closing and not the presentation of the bags. I'm a little confused. I didn't get any. They'll be after. They're going to come back in here. Then let me, in our closing remarks, just say that may your lives be filled with love, understanding, challenges conquered, and may all your dreams be fulfilled as a loving family. Thank you, everybody. Recess. We're in recess.
Folks, we have food, we have pizza back here, cupcakes, drinks, all back here. Feel free to come and eat and drink, yes, in the back room, yes.